This is Lewis Hart for Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store, Forged Irish Stout. Delighted to be joined with Promoter Ben Shalom. We're here in Rzezrow, Poland. I didn't think we...
Good pronunciation.
Yeah, I know, mate. I know it's...
Trying for the past year. I think it's Rzezrow.
All right, yeah, Rzezrow. But we're here, back here again after about a year since then, when Lukasz Rozanski defeated Alen Babic in very good fashion inside a round. And I'm sure he aims to do the same tonight. Takes on Lawrence Okolie, a year on from a disappointing night in Bournemouth that Okolie had. Looking forward to tonight, and have you enjoyed Poland so far?
I have, obviously, as you said, we came here last year. Rozanski, we know what to expect. He comes straight out the blocks. That's what he's got. That's what he does. He's never really been past 4 rounds. So we'll be trying to do the same. But I think for Lawrence, look, he's had a difficult 18 months. He's got a lot of stick. His performances haven't been at the level. And I think looking back and even during, the struggle he was going through on fight weeks was not something I'd seen before. It was affecting his mood, it was affecting his ability to prepare, it was affecting the whole camp, it was affecting his training team. And so it's good for me to see him happy, to see him in a great place in terms of physically and mentally and filled out, and it feels like even just looking at him, it's like looking at a different person. And that's what I'm happy for, that's what I'm excited about. He's got a tough test. He could have probably stepping up in weight, felt himself out at that weight, but an opportunity to win a world title, an opportunity to do it like this was a massive thing for him, and he didn't want to turn that down. And he's got a very, very tough test tonight in a very hostile atmosphere. I mean, the spectacle will be pretty special.
And how important now is it, Lawrence, especially after, because it's been, obviously the Chris Billum fight was the one that he lost, but I think there was a lot of disappointment in the David Light fight, obviously disappointed in the Czeslak fight as well. How important now is it that he sort of gets away from them connotations of, he likes to hug, he's not good to watch, and he's boring and this and that? Important now that where he hasn't got, I suppose, all that weight to sort of cut, that he can show that he is an entertaining fighter.
Look, you hope so. You hope that's going to reflect itself in the performance. As you said, it has been difficult for it, and I think the performances, boxing's entertainment at the end of the day, and he knows that. It hurts him more than anyone to not get the performances that he wanted, but hopefully stepping up in weight. I think he's got a great link up now with Joe Gallagher. I couldn't ask for a better trainer to be on an experience like this, particularly when there can be tricks played. When you go away to any world champion, you never know what to expect, but the fight week so far has been smooth. Joe's in his corner, Lawrence feels comfortable, he's not having to worry or be anxious about what might happen or what might not happen. He's just focused on going in there, getting a knockout and putting on a great performance, and this way it gives him every chance to do what we know he can do, to be the talent that he always was, and to put on a performance. But there's pressure on him, and he knows that.
When it comes to the future of Okolie, and you're not looking past tonight by any means, but is it now, do you think that this is sort of maybe it could be a taster for a potential future at heavyweight?
That's what he wants to do. He wants to go up to heavyweight. I mean, he's coming in higher than Usyk weighed. He's a fully fledged heavyweight. He really is, and you can see that. But this is a bridge, this is an opportunity, this is a chance to win another world title and to prepare himself for that division, because it's completely different. It's a completely different division. We've seen cruiserweights go up very, very successfully in the past, but he's probably not your David Haye, Oleksandr Usyk type. He is a 6'5", very, very big heavyweight, and he will be a very big heavyweight. And so, yeah, that's where he sees himself. Obviously, it'll be up to him and his team, but this was an opportunity that we felt we wanted to deliver for him after a difficult period, and one that gives him the motivation to go put on a statement and get himself in that heavyweight division.
You mentioned about Oleksandr Usyk there, and I'd be silly not to ask you, just in a boxing sort of fan in general, we finally have an undisputed champion after 25 years, defeating Tyson Fury. Obviously, not nice to see a guy from the UK lose, but I suppose from an outside promotional, sort of outside it, when you weren't promoting the fight, what did you make of last Saturday's event?
I'm a big Tyson Fury fan, always have been. And so, going into the fight, of course, that was who I'd have liked to see win. But Oleksandr Usyk, you couldn't ask for a better role model, a better ambassador, a better athlete, a quality fighter to represent our sport. And with all the stuff that goes on within the sport that sometimes, doesn't leave us with the best reputation or damages the prospects of it and everything like that, to have someone like that representing the entire sport as undisputed heavyweight champion. A fantastic advert. It was an unbelievable performance from him. Deserved winner. I actually think he won fairly well. And I think all of boxing is very proud to have an undisputed heavyweight champion like Oleksandr Usyk, and to do it for his country as well. It was a special story. Only boxing throws up those sort of stories.
Absolutely, and obviously that was another event in Riyadh, and we see everything that's going on there. And I know you're very focused on what's going on in the UK, and you're doing really good UK shows at the moment. Obviously, we see next week you've got Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren doing a 5v5. From as it stands with yourself, is there plans that you want to sort of be involved in this Saudi picture with the talent pool of fighters that you've got?
Look, of course we'd love to, and we've had offers, and sometimes it just comes down to the fighters, what they want to do, what their opportunities are. You have to look at it in the sense we've got a young stable. We're trying to build stars of the future. We haven't got a Tyson Fury and an Anthony Joshua who've headlined most of those shows, and so we want to create them. And so when you've got Adam Azim, Ben Whittaker, Lauren Price, Caroline Dubois, Callum Simpson, those are our fighters coming through, and we want them to be the stars of tomorrow, and a lot of them want to headline, a lot of them want their homecomings, a lot of them want those shows, and we've been proud to deliver that. Natasha Jonas in Liverpool, Buatsi in London, Wardley, Clarke and Frazer got his opportunity, Lauren Price got her homecoming, Richard Riakporhe now gets his stadium fight, and Chris Billam-Smith. And then we'll be, I think we're off to Barnsley for Callum Simpson, and then we're off to Wolverhampton for Ben Whittaker. And so for me, that's what British boxing needs as well. And those homecomings and those stars to come through, and they'll get those opportunities, and whether it's Saudi or whatever it is at that point in time. But of course, we expect to be involved, and we do have offers, for certain fighters, and then it's up to the fighters as to what fights that they want. But it's incredible what they're doing in the sport. And when I came in, I have to be honest, it was a difficult time because Frank and Eddie hadn't worked together for that long, and it did affect the sport. And so after you have to take your hats off to Saudi, and the way they're just willing to make the fights that they want. Doesn't matter about promotional barriers. They've proven that they're promoter agnostic. They're now doing the show with PBC in the States as well, and they'll just want to make the fights that they want, and that will include our fighters when they want to make those fights. And so I think it's honestly, I think for boxing in general, as much as we've we've not been involved into a great degree. I think for boxing, it's been fantastic, and you have to, as a fan, be very happy and as I say, take your hats off.
Has that been like a main focus for yourself? Because you look at the homecomings that you've done and the UK shows that you've done, I think a lot of the fears of a lot of fans would be like, these Saudi Arabia events are great, and they are great, but we fans and consumers at home, they still want that O2 fight they can get up for. They had it with Wardley Clarke. So would you say that's been a main focus for yourself, to focus on that?
It has to be. Look, we're a British promotional company with a British stable, with a British broadcaster, as a young promotional company as well. And boxing is a global sport, but it's also a localised sport. And where we've had success in this country, way and above other countries, is creating those stars and creating those stadiums. And where would Anthony Joshua be, having not been built over here and had the Wembley nights and had the stadium nights? And that's what we see for our fighters as well. And so I think it's important to have both. And I think what the Saudis have done is make those global fights that otherwise couldn't be made and would be struggle to be made. And whilst that goes on, you want boxing to be popular in each territory, and you want there to be a clear path for fighters looking forward to, how do I become a star? How do I build my own fan base? How do I develop that? And really important for the sport, as both are. And I think, to be honest, we're getting the best of both at the moment, and we've been putting on consistent British shows that really complement the global shows as well. And yeah, I think it's an amazing time to be in the sport. But as you said, fans are right to want the domestic scene to be thriving as well.
Absolutely. Now, just before I did get on to, suppose, things that are happening in boxing in your promotional stable, I did want to rattle off a few of general boxing topics. There's big news that came out yesterday, obviously to do with Ryan Garcia, his B sample for Osterine testing positive. I suppose he's had 2 drug tests that tested positive. Just from your opinion from a promotional standpoint, and when you look at it, where you talk about how boxing doesn't always cover itself in glory, when you have a guy who is tested positive for PEDs twice, and a lot of it from a general public is seen as a little bit of a joke and not really taken seriously, where we see it gets taken seriously with other guys with pop PEDs. Dangerous, would you say?
I think it's dangerous that it's become part of the narrative of boxing in such a weird way. Like the social media outrage, then the back and forth, then there's no other sport like it, is there, where someone fails a drugs test and it becomes this sort of promotional narrative, and we've seen it now a few times, and the teams get involved and the lawyers get involved and the social media and the governing bodies get involved, and yeah, you have to worry because there's not another sport where it becomes sort of this joke and through everyone, and it becomes accepted. I mean, I don't want to point fingers because no one knows really, and you've got to let them go through the process and see and wait for people to be found guilty and wait for them to be punished. But it does seem sometimes that the media and certain sections just don't really care, and that's the worrying thing, that it's become sort of part of it, and then it becomes the fighters looking at it saying, well, maybe it's not that bad, because what's the punishment versus the reward? And that is a dangerous place to be in for the sport, isn't it? I mean, even as a promoter now, it's such a hard issue to tackle because it seems so prevalent everywhere. And I wouldn't be surprised, you know, you can't be surprised when anyone now fails a test. And that is seriously worrying. And but it always has been a problem in boxing. But I think now with this social media age, yeah, and the way it's become a part of the narrative and the circus, is a serious problem.
Is there any resolution to it, or do you think it is something that could just get worse and worse? And as you see with the Garcia situation, it's like he's happy and he'll walk around the Canelo weigh-ins and that, and just walk in Saudi free, and free from people really getting quizzed about it. Like, is it only? Do you think it could only get a little bit more dangerous?
Boxing is always sold on controversy, hasn't it? And so this is controversial, and this is talking points. And in the social media world where you have conversations and things that spark up on social media, this fits right in. I think that everyone has to take a conscious look to stop glorifying it and stop being part of it and stop. But it's hard because ultimately that's not the media's responsibility. Everyone's there for their numbers. I think the solution's just really to be really, really strict on it and to have immediate bans until maybe you have to just have a different approach to, going through the motions and all the process and the evidence. And I mean, maybe if you fail a test, it's that it sort of stops at that, and then there's no more talk until the result comes out. I don't know, but it is tricky because you can't control the media, and it does become a circus. I've said what I've said on what I think should happen in the UK, and I think there should be a global uniform body across every state and across every country.
Do you think that's possible?
I think it has to be possible, because otherwise what's the point? You fail in this place and then you fight in this place, and you fail in that place and then you fight in this. Boxing's a global sport, and it's one of the unique sports, as we've seen with Saudi, where an event can go anywhere, whether it's Saudi, whether it's the States, they're not confined. It's not like football where you're in that league or you're not. An event, two fighters can go and fight anywhere in the country on a time zone, and it can be broadcast anywhere. So it's a complete loophole around the whole system, completely loophole. And so you have to have a uniform body, otherwise it will never, ever, ever change, because, as I say, you've seen it with Saudi now, you can fight wherever you want.
Definitely. I suppose let's talk about all things to do with boxer. In about 3 weeks' time now, 3 or 4 weeks' time, we have Chris Billam-Smith taking on Richard Riakporhe at Selhurst Park. We know it's always been a big thing for Richard to fight at Selhurst Park. It's always been a massive goal of his. When you look at it from a Chris Billam-Smith point of view, where he's a champion, he's obviously very sort of found his home in Bournemouth, done many homecomings there. Is there a point where he could feel like he may be sort of getting a little bit of a setup or stitched up here, do you think?
Definitely not. Look, we actually would have liked to go to the Vitality. We were there last year, I think it was a year ago today. It was unbelievable atmosphere, unbelievable event by the beach. We couldn't get. Bournemouth had an issue with the pitch and things to sort out. And in the end, what's better, going to Wembley, going to the O2, or a big opportunity like this for both guys in South London? From Bournemouth is the easiest place to get to in London, and I think it was Richard's dream as well. And at the end of the day, Chris Billam-Smith won his world title as a voluntary defence in his hometown, whilst this is a mandatory, and as I say, South London. And I think in the end, both guys delighted to be fighting at a stadium. Richard Riakporhe does see his dream come true, which is special for everyone. He was the first fighter to fight on a boxer card in an 8-rounder on a Sky show. So to see it come full circle and him fight for a world title at Selhurst is massive. And Chris Billam-Smith's been an amazing success story for us. So it's two of guys that we're very close to in terms of the business and what we've done with them and their careers, and to see them go off in a rematch, domestic world title, in a stadium like that. And I have to thank Palace, because it's going to be a huge spectacle on June the 15th, and Jack Massey now added to the mix against Isaac Chamberlain. You could argue the top 4 cruiserweights in the country, certainly on BoxRec, 1, 2, 3 and 4, all at the top of the bill, all squaring off. That's another 50-50 fight. Obviously Ben Whittaker as well in his toughest test to date, looking to put on another statement. Dan Aziz on the bill, plenty more. Fran Hennessy, a lot more to add as well. It's a big card. Chris Billam-Smith will be in the home corner, will be the champion, will probably be in the Palace changing room. And so he'll have that to contend with as well. But yeah, a great night to look forward to, and the entertainment being planned and the stuff that the club are throwing into it, it really will be a special occasion for British boxing. It's going to be something that on TV is going to look phenomenal, and anyone that goes on June the 15th is going to have a very, very special experience. As I say, what they're planning, and it's a 100-year celebration of Selhurst Park, so what they're planning is unbelievable.
I did want to sort of talk about Ben Whittaker versus Ezra Arenyenka. I suppose for someone like Ben Whittaker, who is, I believe it's his 8th or 9th pro fight now, fighting someone like Ezra, who is, being honest, had a lot of his fights in Africa, one fight in the UK, and not a lot of footage on him. When it's someone's 8th or 9th pro fight and they've got the pedigree, they've got the ability, is it right for a fan to be critical of this? Because we don't really know what Ezra brings, and you mentioned his toughest test, but you don't really know that. Do you know what I mean?
For me, it's a perfect match. He can bang. We have seen a lot of him. He's going to stick it on, Ben, and sometimes it's you finding opponents there for the payday, want to survive. Leon Willing certainly wasn't that. I thought he did fantastically, but this is someone that can really hit, doesn't know how to lose. That's always dangerous. 10 knockouts in 12. It doesn't matter what the level of opposition is, you've got to have something to be knocking people out. And so when he came in, and the whole narrative and the fact that he was able to talk, it was almost like, right, we've got someone who really believes in himself, that's really going to stick it on Ben. It'll be interesting to see how he reacts. I think it's a perfect fight for where he's at in his career, perfect stadium fight. And I'm expecting him to put on an unbelievable performance, because I think the more you go at Ben, the more dangerous it is. And I think for me, Ezra will only know one way, and he's going to come out the traps very early on, and it's going to be interesting to see how Ben reacts, even during fight week, to have someone this confident, this in your face. A great match, a great fight for him, and then we're on to headlining with Ben. So yeah, I think as you said, a little bit unknown, always a danger, but Ben's such an elite talent that even whatever Ezra brings, you'd expect Ben to be able to put on a big performance, and he's in the gym and he's feeling better than ever.
I was going to say, is the plan going forward for Ben that, after, God willing, he gets through Ezra, then it's big fights only from then on, and this one's got a title, but big titles further down the line as well.
Definitely, and look, the trajectory's on. People forget, yes, he turned over earlier, but he was out pretty much for 18 months. The speed of which we've moved from December to February to March to now fighting at the stadium as well. He's fighting very, very consistently, and that's all he needed, and we've seen that in how he's blown up. And yeah, we want him to headline next, and then that will probably be it. He'll be on headlining and pay-per-view cards. We've got a plan for the States later on in the year as well, and yeah, very excited. For me, the standout British star outside of Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, I think you're struggling to see even now who's bigger than Ben Whittaker, and in terms of from a profile point of view and a fan point of view, but he's got to develop in the ring as well, and so he'll take the right steps.
Did want to rattle off a couple of topics to do with the stable. Tunde Ajayi recently sort of teased that there was good news coming soon for Anthony Yarde. We know that the Joshua Buatsi fight is the fight that you've tried to make, and we know that it looked possible at one point. Ideally, could that good news potentially be hinting towards a Buatsi Yarde fight?
You know, I spoke to George before Fury Usyk, but then I spoke to Gustavo this week from WBO. It looks as though the purse bid for me is still going ahead. So we're preparing for that as it stands, and we're ready for the fight. And that's the fight that we want next. That's the fight that the fans want next. That's the fight that I believe all the promoters want next. Everyone wants it next, and we'll do absolutely everything now to make it happen. And it needs to happen for both guys, in my opinion. It's now been ordered as well, which makes it even more needed. And I think that will be a fight that happens very soon. It's a fight that we've wanted to make. June 15th, I have to be honest, I wanted Buatsi Yarde on that. That was the plan. That was the plan that we had with Josh. It's not happened for reasons I think we all know, but hopefully we can get that one over the line.
Obviously, that would be for the WBO interim, I'm right in saying. So we know that obviously Beterbiev and Bivol are fighting each other. We don't know when that'll be, because obviously it's meant to be next week. But know what, in sort of not be willing to wait around for what that happens, I guess, because you don't want Buatsi waiting any longer.
No, look, I think Beterbiev, from what I'm hearing, could be out for a long time. I think that's why the WBO have ordered the interim, to keep things moving, because I don't think it looks good. And so to fight for an interim world title and be that close, and to get to fight the grudge match, the rivalry, the fight that Buatsi has always wanted, the fight that we want, is too good to turn down, and that's the fight that we want.
Wardley Clarke, any idea on a potential rematch or working towards that?
Definitely working towards it. Fight that both guys want, fight that I believe happens. And just, did I think I'd be talking about it this early? No. It was such a war, it was such a brutal fight, but one of the best nights that we've seen in British boxing this year. And the numbers and the way they went at it and the atmosphere I still remember very, very clearly. And the rematch will be absolutely enormous. Absolutely enormous. And standout fight to look forward to, and I believe that it happens. And hopefully in the next week or two we could get very close.
I wanted to ask about Martin Bakole. Obviously, it was rumoured about a potential fight with him and Joe Joyce. I've done an interview with Adam Morley in the week, and he talked about sort of the issues with promotionally about the fight, and trying to make the fight that the hold-up was on the Bakole end. Obviously, you promote Bakole. What is the situation now with Bakole and boxing?
Well, that's not how we understood it. That we felt that the fight was happening, and unfortunately, it was said to me that they'd had a change in heart and that they fancied a different fight. I can see why Martin Bakole's not an easy customer and not an easy fight to take, and that's the decision that they've made, and that's what was communicated to us.
And also with Bakole, when it comes, because he was obviously ordered for Cassius Chaney for the WBA final eliminator. Cassius Chaney's now fighting Hunter for a WBA interim. So how did that sort of work out? Was it more?
I'm not sure. To be honest, that fight was nearly there as well. I think when the Joyce offer came in, that became something that was obviously something that we really wanted and really were attracted to. And now we look back to that, and look, I feel for Martin in the sense like it's hard to get fighters to want to fight him. It really is, and that's how it is. And things take time. You've seen it with Oleksandr Usyk. There was a time where, he had to force his way in and get that mandatory shot against Anthony Joshua, and things have opened up for him from there. Martin Bakole is a relatively young heavyweight, and to get those big fights and to get those big names, he's going to have to rely on the mandatories, because ultimately, look, Joe Joyce we felt was done, but ultimately, a lot of the big names aren't going to want to fight Martin Bakole, and that's the bottom line.
We saw Lauren Price win a world title a couple of weeks ago in Wales. Another, I suppose, welterweight rival of hers, Natasha Jonas, in your promotional stable. What is the sort of I guess another one? What is the latest with Natasha Jonas? She done an interview with Seconds Out before the Lauren Price fight, and she Seconds Out with Eamon, and she said about Boxer taking away her McCaskill fight. So what is the latest, and what's the plan with Jonas? Is it the Price fight?
You have to look. You have to laugh a little bit in the sense, me and Tasha Jonas are good friends, and we get on very well, and we've achieved amazing things together. She came to me and never won one world title, and she's won 5. Of course, you want all the opportunities in her position, and to be honest, Lauren Price for us was ready for a world title, and we could deliver it in Cardiff, and it was a great success. Tasha Jonas has had an unbelievable time, and she will be in big fights this year, and the Mayer rematch has been talked about. The Sandy Ryan fight is huge, the Lauren Price fight is huge. We've also got Habazan. So she's in a great position, and she's going to, of course, she's getting towards the end of her career and she wants the biggest fights possible. For me, there's much bigger fights out there for Tasha Jonas than Jessica McCaskill, respectively. You've got the Mayer rematch and the unifications that I talked about, which for me are absolutely huge. And I expect her to have fight news very soon, and she's got such good options on the table.
You mentioned the Mikaela Mayer rematch there. Obviously, there was rumours that was targeted for June 15th. Obviously, it looks like it won't be then. Is that a rematch that is possible? Because I think she hinted, literally a couple of days ago, Mikaela Mayer, that there's an obvious split with her and the trainers at DLX. So what is the latest?
It's a shame that. Is that Coach Al?
No, it's not Coach Al, but it's I assume it's Kay Koroma and the other guys there, because obviously Sandy Ryan trains at that gym as well.
Yeah, I saw that. Look, Mikaela's had the same team for a long time, so it's a shame to see that. But look, that rematch is definitely one that is interesting to us. It's just sometimes about finding the right dates. We sort of received an offer, but then perhaps it wasn't what we expected. And I know Tasha is open to that fight. Obviously, there was a controversy of the first one. It's a huge fight. We'd love to deliver it for both of them, but ultimately there's massive fights out there as well with Sandy and with Lauren, and so we'll probably sit down over the next week or so with Natasha and make a decision that she feels is best for her, that works for us as well, and that rematch for me is still not dead, and it's a fantastic fight. And I think if you talk about what fans want, I do get fans want to see that rematch in the same way they want to see the Wardley Clarke rematch, in the same way they want to see Taylor Catchell rematch because of the controversy. It's one of those, and so we understand that that's the fight the fans want, but we also understand that, as I say, Sandy Ryan and Lauren Price are huge fights as well.
Any update on Azim Eubank? What's the latest on that?
Yes, so the delay in that was Adams picked up an injury probably just after that Wardley Clarke night. And so waiting for the confirmation of him when he's back in the gym, when he's back sparring. But that's a fight that will happen. That's a fight that I've said many times is a huge fight for British boxing, a huge fight that we're looking forward to, a huge opportunity for Adam, a huge opportunity for Harlem as well, 19-0, and built his career really well in the past couple of years. And sort of a crossroads fight really for both of them.
Just a final one from myself. In a couple of weeks' time, we do see Savannah Marshall making her PFL debut. That was something that, obviously, being your fighter, something you fully supported and fully on board with?
100%. I'll be there. I can't wait. It'll be interesting to see. Look, you never know. Savannah's never done mixed martial arts before. The profile that she's built and what we've got, where we've got to now with her, just affords her these opportunities. And look, I'm looking forward to it. It's hard. I'm not an MMA fan, so it's hard to know exactly how it's going to go, but I'm excited. I know they're going to Newcastle. We've been there plenty of times. She's got a great fan base, and I'll be there to see what happens. And yeah, she's still someone that we see very much firmly back in the ring soon. That Clarissa Shields fight is the fight that we want, especially at super middleweight. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that and seeing what happens.
Absolutely. Ben, thank you for taking time to speak. It's been a long one, been half an hour. So, I do appreciate you taking the time and I appreciate you all sorting me out in Poland, mate. I'm having a good time as it is. It is gloomy outside, but there will be gold, hopefully, around the waist of Lawrence Okolie tonight, mate. Appreciate it, mate. Top man. Thank you, mate. Cheers, mate. Thank you.